Hello, everyone. Dr. TAS here. I hope everyone is having a good day. I wanted to come on and talk a little bit about some lessons that I'm learning and hopefully will be able to share with other people from my new book, Transformation, the Bounce Back. Today, I want us to talk about distorted reality. In the book, one of my chapters is called A Distorted Reality. And that's the reality that I found myself living in during the 4 weeks, wouldn't it have been nice if it had been 4 weeks? The 4 months that I was out of work trying to figure out what was going on with my body as the doctors struggled to determine also what was happening with me. And so I started journaling about my experiences. And one of the chapters, as I stated, I named it Distorted Reality. I start the chapter with Reflections, which is a Supreme song, Diana Ross and the Supreme song. It's a song that the music, when it starts, has always sort of fascinated me, as well as the words. So when I was writing, I thought, you're in a distorted reality. And so from there, I began to look at how I was interfacing with my life, people around me, and what I could do to improve that. So tonight, I want to use that song, Reflections, as a backdrop for us to discuss how we sometimes find ourselves in a distorted reality. And for those who don't really know my story, basically, as I just said, I got up from my desk. I was been working on a day I shouldn't have been working because I was off. And I got up for the last time and I was doubled over in pain. That was 6:45 on Friday, December the 9th. I thought I was okay, which is sad to say. I just wasn't in touch with my body and what was happening. And as a result, someone said to me after they kept prompting me, you sure you don't need to go see the doctor? Because they questioned why I was walking bent over. Well, probably by 9:45, after I laid around at home, tried to sit up, tried to lay down, trying to find some comfort, and I couldn't. So I was taken to the emergency room, and within an hour, I was on a morphine drip. And so I said to my family, I was one of those people, if you've ever been to an emergency room, you see people, they can't get comfortable. They this way, they're that way because they're hurting. I became one of those individuals because I was sitting there and I couldn't get comfortable. I'm trying to stretch, I'm trying to do it this way. And so what was happening was something that I really just I couldn't wrap my brains around. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Tamika. Thank you for joining me. I just could not wrap my brains around it. And so I started writing about it, though, as I was journaling. And so these are some of the lessons that I've learned that I put in my book that I want to share with you guys. So tonight, I want us to use the Reflections, the Supreme Song, as a backdrop to discuss what was happening. So the lyrics of Reflections, it may resonate with some of you. You may not even know the name of the song, but when I start talking about some of the lyrics, hopefully it will jog your memory. The first thing I want us to just kind of agree on, we've all been through something that has either thrown us for a loop, made us not realize what was happening around us. I remember someone said to me many moons ago that the person was walking around with a flashlight in the daytime. It took me a while to get it. They're lost. They've lost their way. They don't know which way to go. And, sometimes it brings a sense of hopelessness when we don't recognize ourselves anymore. And that's where I was. So let's start by delving into the lyrics. The song says, through the mirrors of my mind, time after time, I see a reflection of you and me, reflections of the way life used to be. As human beings, we often look back at the past with a sense of nostalgia, thinking about how things used to be. Sometimes we idolize the past, forgetting that it had its own challenges that we worked to overcome. But when we look back, we sometimes forget the challenges and we focus on what we perceive now as being good. Well, the takeaway I want to give you with that is self-reflection is the first step to transformation. To change our circumstances, we must first examine our own thoughts and our beliefs, just like looking in the mirror to see our true self. Now, we need to do the mirror or the shadow work, and that's work that only you can do because you've got to examine yourself. You don't have to share the information with anyone else because this is your transformation. It's not the other person's transformation. The song goes on to say, reflections of the love you took from me. Oh, I'm all alone now. No love to shield me. Trapped in a world that's a distorted reality. What I wrote, because this was about me and how I was interfacing with the lyrics, I wrote, reflections of the love I took from me. Oh, I'm all alone now. No love to shield me. I'm trapped in a world that's a distorted reality because I felt trapped. Sometimes we can unintentionally rob ourselves of love, and now I'm talking about that self-love, not the love from someone else, the self-love. When we get caught up in our own perceptions and past actions, we may buy our own cover story. I did. We may believe that relationships are something that they're not. This can create a distorted reality where we feel isolated and disconnected. Sometimes we alienate individuals who genuinely have our best interests at heart because we become lost in a world that we've created that doesn't serve us. So the takeaway is we've got to recognize our self-sabotage patterns. Are there things that you're doing that hinder your own happiness or your success? Identifying these patterns is essential for personal growth, and only you can do that. The song goes on and say, happiness I took from me. Well, it probably says happiness you took from me and left me all alone with only memories. But for me, because this is about me and about us, happiness that I took from me and left me all alone with only memories. Now, memories can be like a warm blanket. They can make you feel good, or they can be like that cold blanket when you need the warmth, and therefore don't make you feel so good. But our actions, especially those that harm ourselves, can lead to a profound sense of loneliness and regret. You know, regret is something that sometimes we don't like to delve into, but it is a part of life. It's a powerful reminder that change often comes with discomfort and challenges. But it's these moments that can transform our lives. So when I talk about embracing the challenge, it's not that I'm saying we should just celebrate our problems or the things that worry us, but they come to us for a reason. And the sooner that we embrace it and begin to learn the lesson, the sooner we can move out of that particular stance and move into another. We don't want to have a Groundhog Day, but I'll be the first one to say that some things I'm having a Groundhog Day on, but I have decided I'm no longer going to keep having a Groundhog Day, meaning I'm repeating the same thing. I'm doing the same thing over and over again. The situation may present itself slightly different, but it's still the same situation. As a friend of mine said, faces change. But the situation is still the same situation. So again, that discomfort is an opportunity for us. So the takeaway is embrace change and growth. Yeah, I know it's going to be hard. It's hard for all of us. Think about it if you don't have a green thumb and you're trying to grow a plant. It's hard sometimes. But that's what life is all about. It can't always be easy peasy. That's just not reality. So don't shy away from challenges. They can be the catalyst for positive transformation. You know, in my story, I shared that I felt like a character in a Marvel's movie. You know, I was a variant of myself, meaning that depending upon the situation, I was this person with these people. I was this person with these folks. And I was another person and another person, depending upon who it was and what was happening. Now, understand, big picture, we're always going to interface with people differently because of relationships that we have. But I was totally different. It's like I shared before, for Thanksgiving, My family and my friends were like, yes, is something wrong? And everything was perfect for me. They were at my house. Everything was perfect. I did not know that I was off. For those who understand that colloquial phrase, I was off. But 15 days later, because I've now went back and counted up, 15 days later, I was in hospital. So I wasn't myself. And the way that I was interacting with each of those individuals was not being true to who I really was. It was those variants of me. So again, yeah, we interact differently at different places. We all do code switching, because how I interact at work is not how I interact with my family. That's the reality. But when you've lost the essence of who you are, that's when we have to look at what's happened. Houston, we have a problem. So being a variant of myself and being disconnected from what's happening around me, that's not a good place to be in. And it definitely wasn't a good place for me to be in. I was on autopilot. I was allowing the external voices around me to dictate what was happening. And sometimes we do that because we don't want to be confrontational. But think about it. It's never confrontational when you're doing what's best for you. And if the individuals respect you and care about you, they're going to understand that. So do they respect you? Do they truly care about you? Because if they do, they're going to respect it. They're not going to push you into doing something that you don't want to do. So again, it's important to understand when you're in that distorted reality, and understanding that it can manifest itself in many ways. For me, during Thanksgiving, I didn't feel anything physically. Physically, I felt great. But it was the way that I interacted with everybody that was the telltale sign that something was wrong. I just didn't see it. I didn't see it. So it could be physical, it could be your mental, it could be how you're interacting with people from a mental, from a mental perspective, how you're feeling from a mental perspective, how you're interacting with people. But again, there's always a sign. It's just that we don't always catch it. So the takeaway is we've got to reconnect with our true self. Take the time to listen to the voice that's your body, that's speaking to you. Listen to that. What do you truly desire? Deciphering what that is. Because people are real good at telling you what they think you should do and what you should desire. But what do you desire? I often talk about a movie with Julia Roberts and Richard Gere. It's called The Runaway Bride. In that movie, Richard Gere is he's a news reporter, and Julia Roberts' story comes to light because every time she's supposed to get married, she jilts the person at the altar. And so he goes to her town to do an expose on her. And what she finally finds out in the end is that whoever she dated, she became what that person thought she should be. And she didn't even know what type of egg she liked, because whatever they thought she should like, that's what she liked. And so she was allowing all of those external forces, those voices around her to dictate who she should be. And we don't want to be like that character, where everybody else is telling us either very direct or indirect who we should be and how we should be. We don't want to do that. We want to be true to ourselves. So reconnecting with your true self is so important. Hi, Rithia. Thank you for joining me. In the bounce back, I mentioned that I had some subtle warning signs, but I ignored them. Even when the folks told me I was off at Thanksgiving, that was a warning, even though I didn't understand, because I thought everything was just peachy keen. Because I wasn't fussing, all that type of stuff, but I was off. So being aware of what's going on, look at those common things, examine them. When we consistently ignore that, our bodies and our minds adapt to pain, they adapt to our behavior. And once they've done that, it doesn't grab our attention anymore. So it's like our body is saying, you need to pay attention. So pay attention. That's the takeaway. Pay attention to the warning signs. Are there areas in your life where you've been ignoring the warning signs? Be it your physical health, your relationships, or maybe your personal development. Don't wait until they become unmanageable and then you try to manage it. Because at that point, you probably don't have the emotional intelligence to manage it. Meaning that you are a keg of dynamite and anybody can set you off because you've let it go too long. Also in my story, I describe how external voices often take precedence over our internal voice. So meaning you've given your power to external people, and you've done it willingly because you didn't keep it. You gave it willingly. You give it to them, which, really is a cry for help, but we don't always understand it when we're going through it. But it's a crucial point. We often listen to families, work colleagues, organizational colleagues, our friends, etc. Everybody has an idea about who you should be and who you're not. But again, the desire to be everything for everyone is not realistic. I like to say we're not the Black Jesus. We're not. We can't meet everybody's needs. We have to first meet our need, then determine who else's needs we might be able to meet. So again, it's hard sometimes to take that step, but we have to be brave because we don't want to end up being fragmented and lose ourselves in that process of trying to meet everyone else's needs. Hi, Luana. Thanks for joining me. Again, I became a variant of myself, trying to meet everyone else's needs and putting my need not even on the back burner. It won't even on the list. Somehow I come off the list, and I have to be on the list because I have to be first on the list. Because if I'm not on the list, nothing else gets done. And somehow I had come off the list all the months leading up to December of 2022. So we can't be on autopilot, okay? You don't want to be like me, having abdominal pain and finding out that everything is skewed now and that my cognitive ability was skewed. But how could it not have been? When I look back at how I was behaving and how disconnected I was, it's not a wonder that when I was actually going through the hospitalization, going from doctor to doctor, trying to figure out what was wrong, I couldn't manage it. I couldn't manage it. I couldn't manage it. It was all foreign to me. And for those who know me, they know I worked in medicine. I worked in medicine a long time, so I know the healthcare arena. I couldn't manage it. I could not manage my paperwork for being out of work. I couldn't manage it. I could not manage it. I couldn't think. So my cognitive ability was very compromised because I chose to live in a distorted reality. It was my choice. Nobody else's choice. They didn't force it on me. I chose it. They could have dangled it in front of me, but I chose to grab it. So again, I'm personally responsible. And just as I'm personally responsible, if things are happening to you, it may not be exactly like what happened to me. It'd be something much smaller. But you are personally responsible for how you allow it to impact you and take over your life and how you're just going to interact with it. So because we are personally responsible, that means our parents, significant others, partners, bosses, manager, friends, etc., it's not their responsibility. We have to acknowledge that it's our responsibility. And if we acknowledge that it's our responsibility, guess what? Once we do that, which is very powerful, we realize it means that we can change it. We have the power to change it because nobody else really can. We have the power to change it. You're right, Cyrus. We are personally responsible. So we have to grab hold to that because that's the hope. That's the hope. And that's also the grace that we're giving ourselves. So the takeaway is you have the power to shape your reality. Take the responsibility for your life. You have the ability to make choices that can lead to more fulfilling and authentic existence. You can do that. So when I talk about reflections, as it's a song that I love how it comes on, the music, and I've always liked the fact that they were talking about a distorted reality. So it wasn't surprising to me when I started writing on my book that distorted reality, immediately that came to mind because I was in a distorted reality. But what I've learned is that I can control it. I can change it. I can shape it. I can rebuild it. It's like being the $6 million man, being Steve Austin, the astronaut, the man who was barely alive. And they said, gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We have the technology to make the first bionic man, and Steve Austin would be that man. Just as Steve Austin was rebuilt, we can do the same thing for ourselves. All we have to do is self-reflect and be honest with ourselves. Recognize how we're self-sabotaging ourselves. Heed the warning signs. And oh, guys, next time I'll bring you on camera, but I'm gonna keep going. But yeah, heed the warning signs, because again, the warning signs are there. Reconnect with our true self. Embrace the change and take responsibility for our life. We have to take that responsibility. So let the past actions, don't let it define your future. It doesn't have to. You can start fresh every day. And if you have to do it every day, you really are doing the right thing. Because we can set a goal right now, but every morning that I am blessed to get up, I have to reaffirm that that's the goal that I have. And whatever the minute steps are to reach that goal, I do that every day. So if you have to start over and you thought you had managed it all and you were in the right place and everything is great and you have to start over, that's life. That's growth. The fact that you're willing to start over. So embrace that, because that's a transformative mindset, that you're willing to do that. So you control your life. You can transform it by acknowledging your role in creating it and making conscious choices to create a more authentic and fulfilling reality for you. Thank you guys for joining me tonight. Please leave your comments. I'll respond to them. Hi, Deborah. So good to see you. Lawana and Cyrus, if I didn't mention your names, thank you guys so much for joining me. If you enjoyed what we've been talking about tonight, please share it. Also, like it. And who knows what we'll be talking about next week. You guys may say something that sparks something that we need to talk about next week. Again, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. And I hope that each of you, if you're having to bounce back from something, I hope you take away from this that you can do it no matter what it is. And even if you're a retired person, there's always something we got to bounce back from, because, people are people and life is life. So it's never always smooth, but you can bounce back. And remember, before you try to take care of somebody else, you must take care of yourself first. All righty, guys, you have a great night, and I'll see you next time. Bye now.